Okay, we're back. We're live. I'm Jay Fidel here at ThinkTech in Pioneer Plaza, broadcasting on Ustream, on Spreaker, ultimately on YouTube, and also our 24/7 midnight playlist, which you will enjoy because it has a kind of a shuffle of all the stuff we do in the last week or two. But today we have a special show about the. Can't read my handwriting. It's about the acquisition of SystemMetrics by Hawaiian Telcom. And with us we have Paul Kruger, who is Vice President of, I can't read my handwriting again.
Business
Sales and Product Marketability for Hawaiian Telcom. We are honored to have you, Paul.
Thank you
for coming down. And we have Earl Ford, who's the President and Systems Engineer of SystemMetrics, and the founder, for sure, of SystemMetrics. So great to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Earl. Okay, so what was the title of the? Okay.
The future of
The future of SystemMetrics begins now. The title of our show is "The Future of SystemMetrics Begins Now." Today, Friday. Actually, you guys closed a little while ago.
Yeah.
So, Paul, tell us about the deal. Where Hawaiian Telcom acquired SystemMetrics. What were the mechanics of that deal? You issued a press release. A couple of weeks ago. Tell us about the press release and what has happened since.
Well, it actually started several years ago, and we've been looking at the data center field, the data center business, and looking at the ability to get into that segment. And over the last 2 years, well, we really did make a conscious decision to look at that hard until the last few months, last 6 months. And at that point, we looked at a lot of different options, building a facility, upgrading a facility that we have already in place, or acquiring an operation. And through due diligence, got to talking with Earl and SystemMetrics, and really, at the end of the day, saw a common theme, a common goal about delivering the products and services, a small, nimble approach, family-based operations that we thought fit very well with Hawaiian Telcom, and we're able to put a deal together and make the announcement and really bring Earl in on a daily basis, and we're strategizing already.
So you acquired the company, but Earl sticks around.
Yep.
Am I right about that?
More than that, yeah. I'll let him speak. It's his business. He's a sole operation and runs on his own, and is really is going to be maintained that way. So I'll let him speak of that.
Yeah, that's good news for us because actually we're clientele of SystemMetrics, and in fact, this signal that we're generating right now,
Yep.
with all of my inability to read my own handwriting, that signal is going out on the same wire that Earl provided, SystemMetrics wire at 100 megabits. How do you like that?
That's very nice.
So, Earl, what happened according to your view of the matter?
Well, it started out with a call one day, and but the rest is history. But basically, we were approached by Hawaiian Telcom, and with regard to what Paul had just said, with regard to looking at the data center, the cloud computing that we were doing as well inside the facility, and it seemed like a very good fit. And so, the whole excitement about what the two companies could leverage their strengths together to actually provide a more diversified and stronger product set for the customer base here.
I was going to ask you whether you were intimidated by dealing with a very large company, maybe one of the largest, quasi-utility company. I'm going to call you utility.
Telecommunications.
Technically, you're semi-utility, but whether you're intimidated by that. But actually, Earl, you don't look intimidated at all. You never look intimidated.
Oh, well.
Were you intimidated?
No, not really. No, it really wasn't any. We had been working alongside Hawaiian Telcom on the wholesale side for a number of years, and other carriers as well. So it wasn't. There wasn't any fear factor there or any kind of intimidation. It was. We looked at it more as an opportunity to grow and actually accelerate the idea that SystemMetrics was built upon, and pushing that idea forward.
So this is part of a larger plan. To acquire a local provider, a provider which I think is really important downtown, not only in this building. You started in this building, and you had a great relationship with the management of this building, and everyone knew it. I mean, Pioneer was treated for a long time as the best building in downtown to get broadband, and it was all you, Earl. You knew this, of course, going in. And so, you know, now, I mean, everybody downtown knows you. And I'm just wondering if this was a factor in your decision to acquire. Is this some sort of larger plan that you have in mind, or the company has in mind, to acquire somebody like SystemMetrics and maybe others like SystemMetrics in order to build a base based on what they do for the downtown area anyway?
I think more along the lines of, as a telecommunications company, the industry over the last 20 years has really seen a lot of pressure on the legacy revenue streams, especially voice, right? As we all go to cell phones and other devices to communicate. So within the strategy of expanding revenues and growing the business, the data center, co-location, virtualization, those services are really in line with what we're doing with our network anyways. So really it's more of a growth across the entire state for opportunities in relationship to those products. So not just downtown, but downtown's a very, very strong footprint, has a lot of the different businesses in the state here, so it'll be a big concentration for us going forward as well.
Yeah, so you see, I mean, are you contemplating acquiring other companies like SystemMetrics in the same vein?
Well, we're always in the business of trying to find new opportunities. So I can't comment on what we're actively doing or not doing.
I wanted to push that button. So I wanted to ask you questions where you could say that. We had this understanding going forward.
But we're always looking for opportunities, such as what Earl has built, and we're very excited about that, and we look forward to partnering.
Yeah, great. Okay, so what does it mean, partnering? What does that mean on a day-to-day basis? When you get up in the morning, you're going to have a different number of cups of coffee. How is it going to be for you? You're going to be okay?
With extra shot in each one. The partnering, the arrangement is we remain a wholly owned subsidiary of Hawaiian Tel and SystemMetrics stays intact. But we have all the resources that we're leveraging all the resources that Hawaiian Telcom has to actually accelerate what we were doing.
So this will help you in achieving your mission.
Absolutely.
Within the company.
Right. And so we saw it as a way to get, companies have their vision of where they want to be 5-10 years down the road. And we saw this partnership as a way of getting there a lot faster and actually growing it a little bit further beyond than we thought we could do ourselves. And so, that door swings both ways. There's some certain things that we're doing and certain resources we had that combined with Hawaiian Telcom solutions actually just made a more powerful solution set for the customer base.
You sound like a good match, actually.
Yes.
So, I mean, let me understand exactly what you do. I know that you provide broadband to guys like ThinkTech Hawaii, which is very important, critical to us. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of businesses now in this area within, a stone's throw, where broadband is critical to their operation and their business. Without it, they can't exist. That would be the case for us. But are you doing things other than that, or is that still the sole, channel of your business?
Well, the broadband is actually the foundation of our company, which we started out doing, and mostly on the private side, like connecting multi-site locations privately so they can operate and function at a high rate of speed. And then we added on the data center, and the data center piece about the year 2000 or so, and that allowed that was layered on top of the network because you can't really get to your equipment if you don't have a high-speed network. So we were displacing a lot of customer equipment into the data center.
The data centers, you manage servers for the benefit of your clientele.
Right. It's mostly providing protective facilities, redundant power, high-speed access to the equipment, network access, security services, things of that nature.
Like the airport installation, same kind of thing. But in your case, it's downtown.
Ours is a little bit just off of Dillingham.
Okay. You don't have to say exactly where, Earl.
Right. Yeah. Dillingham's a long road.
It's the building with the barbed wire around.
Yeah. So, and then after the data center, as technology progressed, we started getting into the cloud computing model, which actually we're building virtual data centers where the equipment, very little equipment was needed at that point, reducing the electrical and footprint as well as the physical footprint in the facility. And so all these are kind of related. And on the back end, a lot of companies require these services. They're basic but very powerful solutions. And then from these data centers and cloud solutions, it drives the network business, and the network business drives those kinds of solutions as well.
So you start with the backbone, to use that word, providing broadband to your customers, and this is all in the last 20 years. So broadband is relevant in that entire period. And then as technology advances, their needs advance, you provide other things like a data center, like all kinds of other functionalities. So it's, do I get this right? It's client-based rather than geographical. In other words, you wouldn't have a building come to you. I know in the original case you were really close with Pioneer, and that was, you were like a part of Pioneer's brand.
Right.
You know, Pioneer was selling space really because, in some part, because you were here. That was really good, and people were attracted by that. But you don't go building by building, you go client by client. In other words, a guy from Bishop Square calls you up and says, SystemMetrics, can you provide some services? And so you would provide services to that client. Whatever building, but it happened to be Bishop Square.
Right, and so Pioneer was the first in our flagship building. We actually, when the building was acquired at the early part of 2000 by MW Group, we were actually a driver. They had the idea of actually leveraging this technology to accelerate rent rolls. And then we started branching out to the other buildings down. So we took this idea and then transplanted it to other buildings downtown. And so, like I said, we could deliver the customer there, but we already had the fiber in the building, so it made it easier than to do it one by one.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to talk to you about. This. I mean, this is totally relevant. I mean, by the way, what's not to like?
Right, right.
If I was a telephone company, I'd buy you too. Too late, Friday. But the whole thing is about getting into these buildings and getting a place, getting your fiber or whatever you're using in the raceways and what they call conduits, so that it's there. Because once it's there, then you can service any client or prospective client in that building. So all you got to have is one to start up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and then all these buildings and all of our networks are actually natively connected back to our data center. So that provides a very easy segue into the cloud computing and the data center sides.
I was hoping that wouldn't happen before the first break. Because at the first break, I'm going to turn it off. Okay, my promise, my assurance to you guys. In fact, why don't we take a first break so I can do that? This is Jay Fidel on Think Tech Hawaii with a cell phone that needs to be, in a pail of water, talking about the future of SystemMetrics and how it begins now, or at least in connection with this transaction with Hawaiian Telcom. And we have Paul Kruger, Vice President of Business Sales and Product Marketing. And we have Earl Ford, the President and Founder of SystemMetrics. We'll be right back after this very short break, during which I'm going to turn off my cell phone.
Hi, I'm Steve Petranek, editor of Hawaii Business Magazine, and I'm going to be part of Newsmorphosis 3, a look at online news in Hawaii. And along with me there will be Patty Epler of Civil Beat and HuffPost Hawaii, Malia Zimmerman of Hawaii Reporter, Jared Kuroiwa of KHON, and moderating us all is Howard Dykes of Hawaii News Now. If you want to know how Hawaii it gets its news now and will be getting it in the future, you need to be at Newsmorphosis 3. That's at 11:30 on October 24th at the Plaza Club. See you then.
We're back. We're live. We're here on a Friday afternoon in the 3 to 4 block. Think Tech Talks. We're talking about the fact that the future of SystemMetrics begins right now. And if you didn't know, SystemMetrics is a well-known broadband company, broadband and other services company, run and founded by Earl Ford here downtown. And we also have Paul Kruger, who is the Vice President of Business Sales and Product Marketing at Hawaiian Telcom. And recently, Hawaiian Telcom, 2 weeks ago maybe?
Yep.
2 weeks ago, Hawaiian Telcom acquired SystemMetrics. This is an important deal. You're shaking your head, so tell us why it's important to Hawaiian Telcom.
Well, again, beyond just the synergies and creating a new revenue stream for our shareholders. When you look at the future of technology, all the market segments, when you talk about the size of business, are looking for these types of services. So what we've seen historically is as companies trying to maintain and build their own IT infrastructure, they're really looking for a partner to bring that into the cloud, to lower their expenses, to not have to have the technical resources on staff, and that they can focus on their business and let companies like Earl's really focus on the IT portion and help that be up and running and stay up and running. So that's really the power in it.
So if I looked a few years ago, not too many,
Yeah.
if I looked at Hawaiian Telcom, say 10 years ago, I mean, through iterations and changes and all that stuff, I would see a company that really didn't have a lot of broadband. I would see a company that was mostly copper wire, that was traditionally in every building downtown, and in most, if not all, of the residential installations around the state. You're changing.
Yep.
You're changing, I think, probably because you have to change, but you're changing because you see the possibilities, and Earl is part of that. But can you describe the landscape of change in which all of this happens? How is Hawaiian Telcom changing from, say, 10 years ago?
Well, we're still the largest local telecommunications company with over 1,300 employees. Really, the biggest part is the investment in our infrastructure. So spending $80 million into the infrastructure, building fiber optics throughout the island, expanding the core network to the home using fiber, right? Not just to a node, but actually to the home, to the side of the house, to the business. Really is a focus for us in expanding that network. So that's the biggest change. We're really changing from the legacy voice paradigm to a broadband enabler of services over a very powerful network.
It's huge.
Yes, it is.
It's huge.
A lot
You're
of work.
everywhere.
It's a lot
You're
of work.
every street, every corner,
Yep.
every home, every room of every home, really. And a lot of that is legacy wiring, and over time you have to, I think, you tell me, but you have to change a lot of that wiring to keep to fiber.
Absolutely.
And keep current. This is expensive.
Yep, but it's the right thing to do. We know it's going to bring the returns back for our shareholders. We have an amazing staff of installers and support personnel and construction, and really focusing on maintaining the existing copper, improving it where we need to. Also, and then in addition to that, building the fiber in the areas that we feel is strategic for us from a return standpoint.
No, we have Hawaiian Electric come on the show, a lot, and talking about their new logo. They have a new logo. It's very nice. It's very Hawaiian, and the fact that they're trying to and succeeding in generating a new feeling about their linemen in the community when their linemen come to fix a wiring on a pole or whatever it is. People like that, and they want the people to talk to the linemen.
Yeah.
They want them to be friendly.
Yeah.
This is not Hawaiian Electric, it's Hawaii's electric company. Okay, you're kind of in the same boat, I think. Now, I told them I think they gotta come up with a slogan. So if I'm walking down the street and I see a lineman working on a pole, I should be able to say something to him like Imua Hawaii Electric or Hawaiian Electric, What do I say to your guys?
I don't know any Hawaiian phrases. So. No, but again, if you look at our culture, it's all about the community, right?
Yeah.
It's about the neighborhoods where we live, where we work, and really focused locally on the state and improving the state, improving the infrastructure of the state, and enabling technology for the family, the home, the educational system, the business corridors, if you will. So that investment and that really closeness to the community is a big part of who we are.
Oh wait, I don't feel so bad now. I'm not the only one whose phone goes. Earl, do you want to take a break?
Question.
I did turn that off. It got turned on.
It's a community.
Yes.
Everybody is involved.
I gave my phone to somebody else.
Well, that's because you're in the telephone business. Well, the telephone business is changing. I mean, you're changing, and it's a good thing. You're changing your infrastructure, you're changing your materials, essentially, and your technology, and you're requiring new technology, which is a jump start in the sense that instead of having, decades of training and education, you have a guy who's already trained and already educated.
Absolutely.
So what's that worth, But you have a lot of competition going on because you're no longer the only guy in the block. How do you deal with that? Knowing that there are other people like to eat your lunch.
Well,
pretty much every day, you know?
the country is built on competition.
I guess so.
Now, competition is good for everybody, right? So it makes you be better every day. It makes you strive to improve. We've come a long way. It actually creates opportunities. So careers and advancement in technology, all of that dynamic really is good for everybody. So you got to be better every day and work on getting better every day, and that's exciting.
Yeah, that is great.
Yeah.
And this is a good time.
Yeah.
So, and you're also going into other products aside from just straight telephone. In other words, what else can I buy from you aside from just regular copper dial tone?
So our biggest flagship product right now is the residential video product. So it's a very strong product with HD. It's digital. So we're building fiber again to a lot of the residents on the island here, and so it's available in many of our communities. So that's a very strong.
I've seen some of the ads, and the pricing is very competitive.
Yeah, but other than that, we still do the traditional voice. We do. From a business perspective, we do broadband internet, we do CPE as far as telephone systems, Cisco products, Avaya, NEC, we do security hardware, we also have managed services that overlay on that, so configuration, monitoring, we monitor people's networks. We do a lot of work with some of the bigger logos in this state here.
Is the business of setting up conference and conference calling still relevant, or is that overtaken by, products and software technology on the net?
It's not really taking over necessarily on the net, although it uses the net. The web conferencing is probably a stronger play than the traditional voice bridge.
Yeah.
Although they're both very viable, we have both products. So
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask about, which is, it affects both of you, is Hawaii. How is it doing, on access to global internet cables? In other words, we got sufficient here. We got sufficient, pipe and sufficient speed for a state that wants to be high tech in the 21st century, or do we need more? What's the story?
Well, it's actually quite a bit of bandwidth coming to Hawaii right now. You have the JUS cable, the old TPC-5 cable, and Southern Cross, and those provide quite a bit of bandwidth to Hawaii, and for years to come, that'll have enough capacity. But they're always adding capacity along different landings between here and Asia as well. So we kind of benefit from that as well. I know back in 2001. We did have a bandwidth problem in Hawaii where we couldn't even order a T1, which was only 1.5 megabit, because there was no bandwidth left. People were conserving bandwidth, and then then the Southern Cross cable came in and relieved that pressure on the old TPC-5 cable. That was like the Trans-Pacific 5.
Tell them what TPC-5 was.
The TPC-5 cable was the Trans-Pacific, TPC stands for Trans-Pacific Cable, number 5, and that was one of the main links going to the mainland from Hawaii, and that kind of got constricted until Southern Cross came online later in 2001, early 2002. And so and since then they've added JUS has come online, Japan US cable, which has actually provided a lot more bandwidth as well.
So we should not complain that we don't have sufficient bandwidth coming into the state.
No, I think we've got quite a bit, and it's just more of the technologies on either side of those cables that really are the enablers now.
and I think we have to plan for the future. So there's smarter people that could probably comment on that. But the studies show you'll exhaust what we have at some point in the future. Mm-hmm. So it makes a lot of sense for the resources, the business, private, public community, really locally here to look at our future and make sure we're aligned with any future cable opportunity that might land fiber optics here or might be going by us, and maybe we can tap into that. So we need to plan for that.
Yeah, I remember, maybe this is, somehow, it's central. Last year, the government, Neil Abercrombie's government, was on a campaign to bring high-speed internet to every home in every city and town in Hawaii. And Hawaiian Telcom was part of that. Eric came and sat for an interview with us about that.
It's a broadband initiative, sure. Very familiar with it.
And what happened to it?
It's still going. It's still part of their initiatives. The new OIMT office is part of their initiatives as far as the project they're working on. And so there's still some very live and vigorous conversations around making that happen.
It goes to something I'm sure you've thought about, and that is that a state with good broadband is a happy state. It's a state with a better economy. It's a state which is more connected, and connection is economically good. Are we adequately connected now?
We've got a lot of work to do as far as really infrastructure throughout the whole state, right? So it's easy to look at Oahu and spend a lot of energy and focus there. We got to look at all the islands and in between the islands. I think we're doing very well, and again, I think it's about planning for the future, because as you can see, the internet continually used, people using mobility devices, that there's a tendency to saturate the internet and the bandwidth. So on the other hand, there's technologies coming out. They're getting more and more out of the fiber they have in place. They'll upgrade networks. So on both sides of that, you're seeing some efforts.
Yeah, this is a very exciting time. So what about the inter-island, connection? I assume it's by undersea cable.
Correct.
Rather than by some kind of wireless affair, because the curvature of the Earth and all that, and you need to have a cable to do it. Is that like? I'm sure I know the answer to this. Is that like the electrical cable that people talk about, for $1 billion to go to Maui and maybe someday the Big Island? Or is that just a little wee cable about that big, which is much faster?
I'm not really close to the technology of the electrical cable, so I can't speak to that.
Nobody is. Not to worry, Paul.
We have a lot of bandwidth. We picked up Wavecom as a company earlier this year as well, and that came with fiber facilities in the inter-island connectivity. So we've enhanced that presence, and we have a lot of diversity built into our network. So today, we actually have the best network we've ever had between the islands, so we're pretty happy about that.
That's great. So you're on the road to providing that that high speed to every little town and village in the outer island.
Well, as far as a future plan, but at least island to island, just from a core network standpoint, we've got the best network we've ever had, and we think amongst all our competitors.
Well, are you going to be involved in that? I mean, is he going to be involved in that?
No, we're going to let him focus on the data center stuff. We're trying not to invite him to too many meetings.
True. You want to spread it too thin.
Exactly. Let him do what he does.
Valuable resource.
Exactly.
But your knowledge will pervade. I'm sure you could consult with him.
Absolutely.
So the thing is, we're growing by leaps and bounds. I mean, one of the things that ThinkTech is based on is sending video, right, through at high speed, and so you get a good picture. We do. Thank you very much. And video is everything. I mean, people are getting video now so many different ways. It's like, the televisions, traditional televisions, are really sort of transmuting themselves into computers, and computers use the broadband you've been talking about. Mm-hmm. And then Google came up with this thing. What's the thing that Google came up with? That little gizmo, 30. What is it again? Yeah, Chromecast. I hear that in my ear.
Yeah.
My ear. I have my own consultant, Chromecast, that could change everything, because then I can get my computer, use your broadband, and watch all my entertainment from home on my big screen. I don't even really need traditional TV or even traditional cable if I do that.
Yeah.
That's going to put a big load on your infrastructure.
Yep, and that's what we're positioned for. So people are consuming video, entertainment, their favorite shows differently than they were 10, 20 years ago, right? So they want it on demand, they want it on different devices, and really the network that we're building today really is aligned with that. So when we talk about fiber optics to the home, we're actually talking right to your doorstep. That capability is really positioned to take, because video is your largest medium, so that's taking up most of your bandwidth. That network in itself is really going to be part of that solution really going forward.
Yeah, and you know what else we do? We do Skype.
Yep.
We interviewed a guy a couple days ago in the Beltway, an ambassador through Skype, and the picture was beautiful, and we in turn put that on our broadcast, and the picture was still beautiful. So what I'm saying is that Skype is really coming of age now, and Skype, before it was a little bit jittery, but now it's coming of age. Maybe that's because of the broadband technology and the pipe. Maybe it's also because of Skype, but I think it foretells the future. It's the future of SystemMetrics begins now. Well, the future of Skype also begins now. And so when that happens, it's more than just movies. It's all these personal conversations everybody's, does business. Kevin Hughes, who's one of those entrepreneurs in the Innovation Center, has a company that he bonded up with an Indian company in Mumbai, and they're on the phone, meaning video phone, like every day, all day. They do business together around the world on broadband. So what I'm saying is, I think this is the future. What you're doing is dealing with this possibility. Earl is going to help you big time. Watch this happen. We're going to have a follow-up later.
Not watch, help.
So I'm just saying, from my observation, broadband is going to be more in demand every day, and it's the big ticket. So, but what about business, straight business, Earl? What are you seeing happening in the use of broadband by businesses here, say in the downtown Hawaii business district?
We're seeing a demand for higher speeds, which falls in line with our strategy behind the building networks and providing those, and also the customer applications or business applications demanding that high speed. A lot of people are going into this cloud platform. So you may have like applications offered by an insurance company, but the application may be housed somewhere on the mainland in one of our data centers or something like that. And so the customers need to get, because the assets are no longer in their office, they need the high speed to get to these cloud solutions and applications out there on the web to operate more efficiently. So the demand is getting a lot larger for the fiber type services, which we've had in the buildings, and also for migration, because a lot of customers are moving their computing assets out of their offices into these protected data centers virtually through the cloud and operating that way. So when you move an asset out of the office, they expect it to be just as fast as it's sitting in the office, and that's where.
But that's not necessarily so.
Yeah, and in the buildings, we've been able to emulate that performance. Actually, move an asset away from the whole entire computing infrastructure away from a customer premise into our data center with no performance degradation at all. That's worked out very well, and that really drives the bandwidth requirements for the businesses as well. So it's not just internet access anymore. It's also connecting to critical assets that may not be in their office anymore.
Exciting. I want to take another break and come back into the deep water of just exactly how dependent are we on all of this system, and how we can make ourselves less dependent, or at least ameliorate the risks of that dependency. Okay? We'll be right back. This is Think Tech Talks. We're talking about the future of SystemMetrics and how it begins right now, right here, right now. We have Paul Kruger, Vice President of Business Sales and Product Marketing at Hawaiian Telcom. We are very appreciative that he's here. Thank you, Paul. And Earl Ford, President, Founder, and all-around system engineer at SystemMetrics right here in Pioneer Plaza. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. We'll talk about all kinds of challenges and things. Stay there.
We're full of useless segues here on Think Tech Hawaii. You might be part of it. Maybe you'll catch something. Right. Think Tech Hawaii is a non-communicable communication source. Don't get too close to your screen. You might be infected. Think Tech.
We're back. We're live. I'm Jay Fidel. We're Think Tech Talks. We're talking about the future of SystemMetrics and how it begins right now with Paul Kruger of Hawaiian Telcom and Earl Ford of SystemMetrics. And the piece is that Hawaiian Telcom 2 weeks ago acquired SystemMetrics, and that may change everything in the universe. In our universe, anyway. So what are the problems about, you guys describe a world of great connectivity that you're building, and that it's a rainbow. It's in some ways it's the end of the rainbow, because we're arriving in a great place, but we become at the same time totally dependent on it. Our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor is dependent on being connected every day by broadband. I mean, we're really dependent. I mean, we don't have to get into what would happen if one day it was cut off, because it would be a disaster, a societal disaster. But how do you prevent against that? How do you make us less dependent?
I don't know really if that's the way to look at it.
Okay.
I look at it a different way.
Okay.
So I think in terms of it enabling a certain lifestyle. So again, depending on the generation you're from, the younger generation, I think are a lot more dependent on it than we are necessarily. But I think 20 years ago, you had to be in your office 8 to 5, right? Now you can be at home and work off your home broadband and have access to your files and your computer and do video calls. And so enabling that is really a lifestyle, an improving lifestyle across of the world in my mind. In addition to that, when you think of in terms of becoming more efficient and using technology, I think that really plays well. As we look at moving things into the cloud, it actually uses less energy. You're not manufacturing as much hardware, so there's just so much, efficiencies gained by that that I think there's a lot of benefit to it. So I'm kind of excited about it, but maintaining it and keeping it up is a big part of what we do on a daily basis, and it comes in a number of different forms from power, cooling, as Earl knows because he has a data center. Really, the telephone company's been running data centers for tens of decades, right?
Yeah.
Our central office is our data center. So
Where is it? Don't have to tell me exactly.
well, we have 50 some. So
Okay. It's the buildings with the barbed wire?
no. They're usually concrete though.
Okay.
But just keeping that up and running and building in diversity and protection is a big part of making sure the customer experience, both consumer and business, is maintained. So, I mean, that's my take.
Well, can we, is this something where you could do redundancy, where you could do backup systems? I mean, is that what happens? I mean, what happens? I mean, I try to picture in my mind, what happens if I wake up in the morning and, well, the alarm clock doesn't work because there's no power? And what happens if I go to my computer and I start looking at my daily schedule and I can't? Because the more you go to the cloud, the more dependent you are. There's nothing left on your laptop. It's all there. So what do you do about that?
Take the day off.
Exactly.
Hit the beach. I don't.
This reminds me of a great conversation we had. We went on the energy policy forum to Lanai, and we said to the kids in the high school there, how do you want to do energy here in Lanai? And they said everything photovoltaic, everything. So photovoltaic doesn't work at night. There's no power. What are you going to do at night? She says, we'll go to sleep early.
See, there's a solution to everything.
Smart kid. Maybe we get back to the basics.
Exactly.
What about in business? I mean, how do you they always talk about, redundancy and security and all that. How do you do that these days with the cloud?
Well, there's a lot of these systems are getting a lot more advanced, and that they have internal redundancies built into them. So, the industry is recognizing the critical need of these systems and actually building those redundancies in, as a natively into the solutions themselves. So, in our cloud solution, we can lose three servers and no one really notices that down. So we run like
it's all mirroring and.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting technology. It'll actually, if it senses one node down, it'll transfer all the operations on that to the other surviving nodes. So a lot of that's built into the software and the hardware architecture, and and that's getting a lot easier, these internal redundancies. So the maintenance is going down a lot on this, and the uptime is going up. We've logged.
That means you save money.
Yes, exactly. Personnel and managing it. We're logging 100% uptime over the last 3 years on our cloud platform with 0 outages. So it's been really great. It's dependent upon a lot of other factors as well. The data center, we put them in these critical facilities to protect them. They have redundant power, filtered power, generator backups, things like that actually protect those assets and keep them online even though the the office might be down, or those island-wide power outages or something like that, they'll still continue to function. There's a lot of redundancy being built into the system so that we can depend on it most of the time and it work, and it just seems very natural, like turning on the light switch and expecting it to work.
How about terrorism? It's a risk like anything else, and there are bad guys out there who would like to bring these systems down if they could, and knowing our dependency, that would be their favorite thing. How do we prevent against that?
Well, just remaining vigilant, and actually there's security technologies. A lot of, you shouldn't really take all the technology for granted. There's, that whole cyber terror thing covers many different things, from anything from just like phishing, just like sending out emails, like, especially with the Healthcare Acts going into play right now. Security companies are getting more and more advanced, and actually people are looking at these systems a little bit more and remaining more vigilant, so you don't have as many infections, or they get stopped a lot quicker than normal. But there's on the flip side of that, the technologies enable these bad people to actually...
Sure. It's a step ladder.
Right, exactly. So, but with anything, there's a flip side to it, and as long as you remain vigilant and actually take the necessary precautions, the whole industry is actually taking precautions right now to actually shore up their security.
And that's part of the expertise and products and services that we both provide to our customers, right?
Yeah.
And we'll be doing that together going forward.
Yeah. What about, I mean, if this is a tender question, just tell me to go away, but the NSA, likes to go into telephone records, cell phone records mostly, I think, not landline records, but I wonder if you've had any contact with them and whether you can tell me yes or no. If you have, just nod your head this way.
Where are those guys at the door?
Yeah, exactly.
I cannot confirm or deny.
Plausible deniability, right?
You were in the military once.
Yes.
Yes. So how do you feel about this? I mean, does it matter? Does it matter that the NSA comes and wants anything? Does it matter?
Well, it does, depending on what context they're coming in and doing that. I'm not really sure of all the ins and outs of it, but we'll see how that pans out.
Well, I guess the point, just listening to you and adding my point about the NSA, seems to me that the whole business of communication, what you think is personal communication, is changing.
Yes.
It's changing as you're much more powerful now, because it's the combination of software and hardware and broadband. I mean, as we really, we're going to the moon with all the things we have. And you guys are riding that horse. You're riding that horse. It is going to change. So my last and maybe my most important question is, how is it going to change in the next 5 years? What do you see? What do you see individually, I mean, for the Telkom and for SystemMetrics, and what do you see in the synergy together in your new relationship?
So, I mean, from a broadband perspective, the consumption of broadband will continue and go X-fold. So the continual growth of being able to provide bandwidth to customers is never ending. So you'll continue to see that.
It's not static at all.
Yeah, you're
every minute.
There's so many new applications and so many different ways to consume information that having a larger pipe, bigger and bigger, just becomes more and more needy.
Yeah.
And we see that as a big future for everybody. In addition to that, I think, and I'll let Earl talk about it because he's already working on it, I think we're going to see companies not really want to invest capital in hardware and IT infrastructure. They're going to look for partners, and we're already doing that today, and really going to the cloud, virtualizing things, making it more simple, more flexible, more cost effective, and enabling new technologies and applications.
Going to the cloud sort of means, doesn't it, going to a subscription-based kind of interface with the customer.
Exactly.
Instead of having, as you say, lay out the capital, up front in order to buy equipment. He just goes on subscription. Like, we do Adobe here for movie editing. Well, now you just buy a subscription to the software. You never actually buy the software.
Right.
You
Yes.
pay monthly for the license, and I think everything's going that way. and it's easier to pencil that out. It may be more expensive in some ways, but you get a better deal in other ways.
It's predictable, it's consistent, it's in a reliable environment, it's protected. So as you're building your business, it's one less thing that you need to worry about. Surprises, technology expires, software license expire. It just makes it a lot easier for somebody to focus on running their business and have a partner help them with the IT part.
So going forward for Hawaiian Telcom, with these new paradigms, these new acquisitions, these new ideas and services, a whole new paradigm in general, I think, is it going to cost me more or less going forward?
Less.
Are you going to make more or less money going forward?
So for the same services that you're buying today, it'll be less, right? Because you're seeing competitive pressures. We're becoming more efficient. In addition, the systems, the hardware, the things that we do in the core of the network to provide those services is getting more cost effective. It's getting smaller, right? Less to power, less to maintain. So all that creates efficiencies that will help us maintain our cost and structure and provide services at a competitive rate. What I think you will see, though, is as the more services are available to a customer, they're going to shift dollars from one direction to another. Instead of buying hardware, instead of building their own data closet within their building, they'll look to a partner like SystemMetrics and Hawaiian Telcom to really provide that service and really allow them to focus on their business.
Actually, it sounds pretty exciting and very different than it was, 10 years ago.
Yep.
It's on a completely dynamic basis. How do you sleep at night, actually?
It depends. If I'm hitting my numbers, I'm good.
Well, what does it mean to be Vice President of Business Sales and Product Marketing? That sounds like a huge thing to do.
It's very exciting, just like you said, right? In charge of the business products and services, from developing those products, understanding the roadmap and what we're doing with the products, to rolling those out, creating marketing strategies, tactics, and then the sales organization. What does it look like? How's it manned, staffed? What are we doing from a focus standpoint, products and services, training, keeping everybody on their toes as far as the technology and how to approach it. So it's very exciting. You don't have to look at the clock. The day goes pretty quick.
I'm sure. That's the best kind of day, really.
Yes,
That
absolutely.
justifies your position on Earth here. So if I'm out there among, all our millions of listeners, through the broadband, everywhere, and I want to get a job, in Telcom. Is it a good time to get a job in Telcom? Should I apply to Hawaiian Telcom, or should I apply to SystemMetrics?
Yeah, I think there's great opportunities both.
What kind of a job would that be? What would I need to get that job?
There's so many different opportunities. So you'd be surprised at what happens within a company, a telecommunications company. So we have everything from customer service to project management. So we're constantly doing. So we have an internal project management group, to the what I like to refer to as the propeller heads, the technology, right? So depending on where you want to be, whether you want to be in HR, you want to be in project management, you want to be in the technology, the customer service, each one of those aspects have a little bit different curriculum as far as what you need to do.
And on my desk, can I get 100 megabits?
Absolutely. Yes. We sell gigabit right now.
Okay, sorry.
We have gigabit telephones you can buy right now.
We got to talk. Earl, what about you? Where do you see this going? Give us, sort of the picture of the way you see the future on it in this relationship.
Okay. Well, I think we'll be expanding much more rapidly in our customer service offerings, giving customers greater choices, and see multiple facilities under us now, where we were currently operating on one or two. We see a lot more of that growth. A lot more movement into the cloud business, where we're actually virtually expanding our data centers, getting a lot more density in there without the physical footprint as well. And so we're really excited about it. As far as getting these products and solutions in place, and with the resources of Hawaiian Telcom, I think we can expand it a lot further down the road, a lot faster than we could have done it by ourselves.
So if I'm looking for a job and I come to you, because I want to know a lot about broadband, business broadband, all that, what should I study in school?
Well, it's it's kind of hard to really pinpoint that any kind of the technology is changing so fast. So it's really if you get a good base of technical ability, like my background is not in this. In computer science or anything
You could
like
have
that.
fooled us about that.
So my background is much different than where I am now, but it's good. The technology is always changing, so there's always opportunities to jump on to different product specialties, things like that, with like Cisco or virtualization or VMware, things like that. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, but it just takes a good whatever curriculum you're in, an ability to find the answers and actually follow through with a few things, and it'll actually take care of itself, whatever you decide to do.
What about the possibility of exporting the benefits of our system? What I mean by that, for example, every time I get on with technical support on some software program or something, I think, why can't we do that here? Every time I'm in with a call center on anything, I think, why can't we do that here? I think we tried it, maybe 15 or 20 years ago, but it didn't work. I think that we couldn't meet the wage standard or something. And there are places in the universe where wages are very low for call centers. But is that ever a thing in the future? Can we ever find, a product or a service on broadband, on the internet, which we can sell elsewhere, sort of like a call center? Is this possible?
Our call center's local.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, actually.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's very important.
Yep.
When they say mahalo,
You know
really
something's
bothers
up.
me. Hawaiian Telcom, it says mahalo and it knows. Well, thank you, guys. It's
Thank
great
you.
to
Thank
talk
you.
to you. Paul Kruger and Earl Ford. Paul is Vice President of Business Sales and Product Marketing at Hawaiian Telcom. Earl Ford, the President and System Engineer of SystemMetrics. And recently, 2 weeks ago, Hawaiian Telcom acquired SystemMetrics, so we're stepping out on a new future. The future of SystemMetrics begins now, or at least 2 weeks ago. And you guys, thank you for letting
Thank
us
you.
celebrate it with you.
Thank you.
Think Tech
Thank you,
Talks. We've had a good time with these guys.
A lot of fun, Thank you.
Aloha. Be back shortly.